Okay, this next book is called The Face of Innocence. Again, it's another one that I wrote a while ago and just kind of kept adding to it through the years. And then I finally decided to get it published. So this is actually the first one that I got published just through Amazon. It hasn't been published anywhere else. All right, I'm gonna read the summary of the story for you. Jenny Christie is a successful fashion designer leading a charmed life with her equally successful boyfriend Jared. When he proposes to her, however, the question of what if begins to plague Jenny. Does she want to settle down into a cookie-cutter life with the stable and familiar Jared? Or does she want to explore her dark and wild fantasies with Derek, the tempting man from her past? Oddly enough, I'm going to share yet another selection from chapter 4 in this book. Jenny's hands were shaking as she rapped on the door. A dog barking across the street made her jump involuntarily. She shouldn't be nervous. After all, no one knew her around these parts of town. She waited a few seconds, then turned quickly. What was she doing here? She needed to leave. Maybe it was better that he wasn't answering. She heard the door creak open. I wondered when you were going to come. Jenny spun around, a nervous grin automatically appearing on her face. I bet you didn't think it would be so soon. He shrugged nonchalantly. Actually, I did. Jenny tightened her grip on her keys, not sure if she liked his arrogance. He stood aside and gestured for her to enter. She hesitated for a moment, then stepped in. His place was small, but comfortable. There was a gaming center and chair in the corner with all the green screen equipment set up around it, an entertainment console with a flat screen television and a couch that had seen better days. A small kitchen setup was to her left, and she could see that a bedroom and bathroom were down the short hallway. Are you finished casing the joint? Her heart pounded hard as his voice was right beside her ear. She turned and looked up at his grinning face. You know, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. I should probably leave. His expression fell to one of disappointment. Why? Are you worried about your boyfriend? Fiancé, she thought, an overwhelming surge of guilt running through her. This was a mistake. I've really got to go. No, you don't, he said as he blocked her escape to the door. Jenny moved the other way, feeling a sudden sense of entrapment. This was exactly what she wanted to get away from. All of the controlling, manipulative mannerisms that Jared used with her. Get out of my way, she exclaimed, her eyes flashing. Derek laughed easily. You don't like playing games? No, I certainly don't, she said with conviction as she looked straight into his amused eyes. She cursed herself as she started getting weak when he flashed his irresistible smile. All right, he said simply as he stepped aside. Go ahead. Jenny was confused at how easily he relented. He wouldn't have stopped until he won if he was anything like Jared. But Derek wasn't Jared, she told herself sternly. He definitely wasn't Jared. Well, what are you waiting for? His voice interrupted her thoughts. She took a few steps towards the door, then stopped. She could hear him laugh behind her. I figured, he muttered as he moved over to his chair and sat down. Jenny felt like a little girl as she fidgeted with her coat sleeves. Why don't you relax, Jenny? Take your coat off, sit down. He gestured to the couch. Jenny was about to unbutton the coat when she remembered the outfit she was wearing. She suddenly thought it was silly to try to act like someone other than herself. But Derek's expression made her less doubtful. His gaze was wandering up and down the length of her body, and she could see by the way his jeans were already starting to tempt that he wanted her. That gave her the confidence to slip the jacket off her shoulders and set it on the table beside her. She turned to see his reaction. He was slowly rocking back and forth, his head resting against his hand that was propped on the arm of the chair. Nice dress, he said simply. Jenny gulped, her hands clenched together in front of her. Thanks. I made it. Oh, you did? Well, you have some talent. You should go into the business. Actually, I already am, she replied matter-of-factly. You're a fashion designer? He asked. Maybe I should hire you to make some of my shirts advertising my gaming. Jenny could feel the heat rushing to her head. Great. Now he knew about her job. She hadn't been there 10 minutes and she was already spilling her guts. She stopped reaming herself as he stood and sauntered over to her, coming within a few inches of where she stood. Obviously, you didn't wear that dress just to get my opinion on it, he whispered, his breath hot on her face. Well, you figured out my master plan, she muttered flirtatiously, his voice having a hypnotic effect on her. What do you want? He questioned, bringing his hand up to caress her cheek. I don't know, she said, moving closer to him. I just know that I don't want to catch up. He silenced her with a kiss. Jenny felt as though she were going to burst. Jared never kissed her this way. Derek tangled his hands into her hair, caressing the back of her neck as his mouth parted her lips and touched his tongue to hers. She allowed herself a brief moment to enjoy the sensations, but she became aware that Derek was taking control, backing her against the wall and running his hands down her body. He was taking over, she thought, as panic began enveloping her. She pushed against his chest, bringing her hand up and slapping him across his cheek. His eyes widened with shock, but then they began glinting with excitement. Well, aren't we a little tease? You like to be rough, huh? Jenny pursed her lips, crossing her arms across her chest. You shouldn't treat me like that. Really, he said. Really. You're the one that should be on the receiving end. Derek looked at her with disbelief. Before he could say anything, Jenny grabbed his hair and yanked his head down to hers. She kissed him hard, tightening her grip. It felt so good running her fingers through his soft strands, not at all like Jared's. It made her more excited as she realized that this was the only man, other than Jared, that she had kissed this passionately. She backed away as he put his arms around her. Don't touch me. She could see by his relenting expression that she was winning, and adrenaline surged through her body. She flashed a triumphant grin. You'll only do what I want you to do, got it? He nodded quietly, bending to receive another urgent kiss.